Well, joining me now to talk about child sexual exploitation and abuse, what can be done to end it, is Juliet Ohahuru Obiora, who's the Program Director of Action Against Child Sexual Abuse. Good to see you, and thanks for your time. This is very important for us as a people. And first, quickly, let us know how best this online stopgap measure can work in Nigeria.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, how can this stopgap measure be, sorry, take it back, how can this
work for us? So
okay, how it can
what
work
are the
for
features?
us?
Yeah.
Okay, definitely. An internet hotline, like before now we do have helplines. I mean, there's a lot of helplines in Nigeria. Helplines are different from internet hotlines. Now, when you talk about helplines, you're talking about a place to call for help. But when you talk about internet hotlines, you're talking about a place where URLs of child sexual abuse materials or URLs of intimate partner violence in the sense of revenge porn can be reported. But in our case, we're looking at the possibility of having to copy the URL of wherever you say, be it a website, be it in a chat place, be it in anywhere you get these URLs, you pick them up and you paste it. Our reporting site allows you to choose what material you're looking for, what material you want to report, and also you paste the URL and you can leave in it, and you can leave a little information about it. But the most important thing about this is that you can do this anonymously, and that is kind of to encourage people to report these issues, knowing that you don't have to show up to report these issues, and be rest assured that someone is working on taking it down.
It's a good thing we're having this conversation, but again, I'm looking at two categories of persons, the adults, call them the parents, the guardians, and the victims, in this case, the children. How can the elderly ones, who are good people, not the bad ones now, help the victims, the children, to identify these, to be able to come back to that online platform and put the details?
Well, there's so much areas to talk about, because you have to start up from the technology companies, the people who are providing those platforms where people use. For instance, the Meta platform, the Snapchat platform, all the platforms. It is their responsibility to be child-centered when they are making these innovations, because it's an era of the internet. So first of all, there has to be that kind of understanding that children are going to use this platform. So they have to put those measures in place, those measures that allows you to control, especially for young children, and to protect children online. And yes, it is possible. A lot of them are doing it, and a lot of them can also do better. That is on one aspect. On the other aspect, as a society, while you can limit it and say, oh, parents can do this and parents can do that, we are parents of the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas. Some of these children are the ones that teach us how to use our devices. How do you want us to help them in this situation? Of course, in other parts of the world, especially the global north or the western part of the world, where they've been advanced, I mean, they've had the internet penetration long before now. And they've been able to put systems in place to educate and equip children with the tools and knowledge to use these places or these internet spaces. But we did not have that capacity, we did not have that opportunity. So now it's like boom on everybody. Everybody's like on the internet, especially with what happened with COVID-19. And here we are faced with everybody's on the internet, but there was no preparation.
How much of a problem are we dealing with? Because sometimes some would say, hey, come on, this is Nigeria. It's not that prevalent. Looking at the stats you have in your organization, how dire is this problem?
Well, this problem also has a problem with data. I mean, I could quote data from some other areas or some other places, but we're not doing a lot of research or knowledge findings in this area, which is very, very important. I mean, you can have interventions that are not data-driven. It is very important to go back to the drawing board and start looking for data on these issues, especially in our continent. I could tell you data about other places, but in our continent, there's limited studies. In fact, there's barely awareness that something called child sexual abuse materials. And when I say child sexual abuse materials, that is a new word for child pornography. And that is simply because children can never consent to sex. I mean, it is not their duty or their responsibility in any way to consent to sex. A child is a child. So when you say child pornography, you're saying that this child is consenting to be in a sexual act, which is totally, it's unfair. And definitely it's very important to look at terminologies. And that's why we call it child sexual abuse material. We're trying to say that this child is not a part of this. He's not consenting to what is happening to him. This is just a product that was made forcefully or coercively or in any way to get this child, you know, to do those things, and that's why we have that material.
You know, for those needing help, we're cursing home now. For those needing help, is it just restricted to online sexual abuse, or for those that have been so sadly sexually abused physically within our space, our environment, can they also approach your organization?
Yes. Before now, we used to work in the other space where we have the offline type of abuse. But you will agree with me that so many organizations are working on SGBV, like we call it, the sexual gender-based violence, or the gender-based violence, because the sexual is just an S. But today, a few people are working in this space, and you know, we just pioneered it. And one of the things that have made us different is by launching this hotline that allow us to not just encourage reporting, but also removal of this child sexual abuse materials, what used to call child pornography. So for us, it's a new and gray area, and we think it needs a lot of work, and we're bent on seeing how, as a hotline, like I said, is a place you can report and you remove. Of course, it takes some processes because you're not doing it alone. You're working with the Interpol. We have an internal analyst called the CISM analyst who is going to work on this materials and be sure that they are actually child sexual abuse materials, because you can report anything. So it's a whole lot of process, but I'm saying that we are really bent on seeing how we can advance on ensuring that children are safer online. Everybody lives online. Everybody has a phone. Everybody wants to be on the internet. Everybody is virtually on the internet. So it's a new world for both adults and children, and we must look at making it safe, especially for children.
A fine place for us to leave it. Juliet Ohahuru, Obiora, Program Director, Action Against Child Sexual Abuse. Many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you so much.